Tension between Israel and Iran is getting more interesting. Russia just declared their full support for Iran. 2 days ago, I told you guys that the Russians are going to join this war. I was damn right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the continuation of the Cold War. So during the Cold War, the West and America supported Israel, while the Soviet Union supported the Arab states. Those of you who have no idea why the Russians are supporting Iran now, please get yourself a cup of coffee and let me dive deep. 1. The West and America has joined forces to destroy Iran completely. If you guys observe, in the past week, the West and America are sending more weapons to Israel, especially America. Reason number 2, Putin is playing a game. The West and America, or NATO, is supplying the enemies of Russia with weapons for them to fight against Russia or destroy Russia completely. And Putin is equally doing the same thing now. Putin is also arming the enemies of America. And that is what Putin meant when he said the Russians are going to retaliate. Many people understood what Putin was trying to say. Putin was not talking about sending tanks and bombers to Ukraine. No. Putin was saying that we, the Russians, are going to retaliate against America, meaning they are also going to supply American enemies with more weapons for them to fight against them. This is exactly what happened in the Cold War. Khrushchev said Russia is not interested, or the Soviet Union is not interested in fighting against America or NATO. They are only going to do to America exactly what the Americans are doing to them. So when Americans placed their weapons in Turkey aiming at Moscow, the Russians didn't go attacking Turkey. They didn't do that. They also decided to place their weapons in Cuba. They formed an alliance with Fidel Castro and placed their weapons in Cuba, targeting all the 50 states in America. History is repeating itself again. This is not the first time that Russia is doing something like this. It happened in Syria. I hope you guys remember. The Western America, basically NATO, did everything possible to destroy Assad government in Syria. The Russians came in, they defeated NATO, and they saved Assad government, and Assad is still in power. The same thing happened in Vietnam. America decided to support South Vietnam against North Vietnam. America did everything possible to destroy North Vietnam. The Russians came in again, and they supplied North Vietnam with weapons. They supported them, and eventually North Vietnam won against South Vietnam. The same thing happened in India. The Western America were trying to destroy India completely. Again, the Soviet Union came in, they supported India, and India won at the end of the day. The Western America refused to even supply India with weapons. The only people who stood up for India and supported India militarily was the Soviet Union. The same thing happened in South Africa. The West and America were supporting the apartheid state against the black people in South Africa. And Russia supplied South Africa with weapons. The Russians were the first country to introduce automatic rifles to South Africa. They gave them all these weapons to fight. And they didn't even end it there. The Russians decided to educate over 50,000 Africans academically and militarily in Moscow, and they brought them back again to fight for African independence. So Russia is a savior. I can give you guys more and more examples. The Russians played a crucial role in Africa independence. Ghana was the first country to gain independence. The Western America did everything possible to take Nkrumah down. You know, they were trying to kill him. And the Russians came in. They brought in the Red Army to protect Nkrumah and gave Nkrumah a lot of Soviet weapons to, protect him. The same thing happened in Egypt. If not for the support of the Russians, like by this time Egypt would be like Palestine, right? The Western America armed Israel against Egypt under Gamal Abdel Nasser. Gamal Abdel Nasser was begging weapons. He wanted weapons from the same Western America, and they refused. The Soviet Union supplied, Egypt with weapons. Over 200 fighter jets. They gave them tanks, anti-tank weapons, javelin, name it. They gave them a whole lot of weapons to fight. And let us not forget what the Russians did for Central African Republic and Angola. Look, I can't even mention countries, right? These guys have always been on the right side of history. I'll continue to monitor what exactly is happening, and I'll give you guys more update about whatever is happening. Don't forget to hit on the like button. Shalom. See you in the next episode.